5 months.
Pretty
Ellen, we know you were busy, so
Montpelier, actually, Marystown,
today?
she's
9.5.
It's either beast or famine around.
Yeah.
So on your iPads, Teresa, will you tell everybody where to go on their iPads for the
Page
assignment?
926, also on the website.
Page 926.
39 is okay.
well, it's not clear that you'll have
144, okay.
Everyone's here.
No, and then that's right there.
All right, what can we do for you?
Mary, we're gonna start.
I'm just here touching base.
We're doing Act 250.
You are? Bring it.
I should have told you.
It is, I know, all day long.
Okay, so in your iPads, Teresa has put the 54-page amendment from appropriations.
You guys are you're doing it here? Well, at least that's on it.
We're not going to put out a bill that's not balanced.
Someone said that. I forget who it is.
Where did we get that idea, Adam?
By the way, Marty, did you get my?
I got your message, I just want to reshuffle in my mind.
I think we're good with that.
I think it makes sense.
Let's go, Ellen, we're ready.
Czajkowski, Office of Legislative Counsel. This is a strike all amendment to H 926. There were 200 references to the board, and so I needed to rearrange. But it's, you know, we cut off 43 pages, so that's.
The Committee of Jurisdiction, though, will have a floor amendment to add some of their own pieces back in, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
So broadly, struck the references to the new professional board, eliminated the provision raising the per diem, eliminated the appropriation section, and added a new section called permit review. So primarily where we lost the 40 pages was in section 3. So section 3 amends all of chapter 151. So I took out a number of the sections, including 6021, 6026, 6027, 6028, 6083, and then 6089, which was the appeals. And then I also took out section 10 and 11 were the environmental court sections amending its jurisdiction. Section 17 was the environmental division's continuing jurisdiction. Section 18, which added which asked the new Natural Resources Board to report back. Section 19 was the appropriation, so that's gone. And then section 20, which had the Natural Resources Board transition. So the new language is on page 51. So this is the new section 13. And this is the permit fee review.
Okay. So the other pieces are gone, the $100 is $50, so it's not
Yes.
mentioned in here.
Yes, everything went back to the status quo.
And there's no reference to the two positions, the two attorney positions, or any of the funding for the board or the.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
do you want to walk through this with us, Ellen?
Sure. On or before December 15th, 2020, the Secretary of Administration shall submit to the House Committees on Appropriations, on Natural Resources, Fish and Wildlife, and on Ways and Means, and the Senate Committees on Appropriations, on Natural Resources and Energy, and on Finance, a review of the Act 250 permit program and fees. The review shall include the workload of the Natural Resources Board, whether the Natural Resources Board has sufficient staff to administer the Act 250 program, the sufficiency of the current Act 250 permit fee structure, to cover agency work done on Act 250 permit applications, the possibility of allocating Act 250 permit fees to other state agencies,
Excuse me, Adam.
and the possibility of state agencies directly charging applicants for work done on Act 250 permit applications.
That would be the bill back.
Yeah.
And that's it?
That's it.
That was very quick and concise for the things that we had talked about. So it has the review of the fees, it has the review of the bill back, and to a report back, determining whether, what is needed to shore up the program and not create a pressure on the general fund unless we choose to do that. Questions, Mary?
In number 3 at line 13 and 14, it says the sufficiency of the current fee structure to cover agency work done. Which agency is that referring to?
So currently the fee goes to the Natural Resources Board, that
Right.
agency.
So this is not asking whether those fees are sufficient to cover the work that other state agencies are doing to comply with Act 250.
That's the next
I'm just wanting to understand.
So I think there's something implicit in that currently the fee only goes to the Natural Resources Board and it funds their agency. But I think they still ask for an appropriation generally too because they're not covering their costs.
Yeah. And do any of the fees they receive from permit applications go to anyone other than themselves?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Kimberly?
One of the things that was discussed was
We'll come back to that.
when we looked at,
You keep going.
I'm sorry, the per diems, that was not a focus so much just on the agency, but rather, or on the board, but on the district commission level. It was sort of a tripartite kind of discussion. And I just am wondering whether we need to put anything in here about the capacity of the district commissioners' workload in response to the increase of Act 250 versus just what's happening at the agency or at the Natural Resource Board, because a lot of the folks who will be doing the job in the various district offices, they will also be impacted, and we are silent on that.
You
Right?
mean beyond the per diems?
Well, it could be any number of ways. I mean, I'm thinking, I'm just completely making this up, it's not based on anything. There are some projects that are coming in that they're not used to working with climate change criteria. They can't get through to A&R because those attorneys are overwhelmed. They're scrambling to try to, I mean, there could be any number of scenarios, and I just worry that the folks who are on the ground doing the work as volunteers on $50 a day, do we want to at all consider the demands we're putting on them as a part of this piece?
Weren't we going to try to deal with that in what we were asking GovOps to do is kind of a look at all of the people who are receiving per diems, and should we tier it, should we think about it differently, et cetera?
That's the per diems, but I think
Right.
you're thinking even
That's-
broader than.
Exactly, I think per diems is one piece of that, but I suspect those folks who are in the district commissions, and again, I'm going on my own thoughts here, not on any particular set of circumstances or individuals, that it's the workload, not just what they're paid, because I don't think anyone's doing it for the per diems. But they could burn out sooner if they're being asked to do so much, regardless of whether the per diem is $50 a day or $100 a day.
And here we're just asking if the board has enough, not if the
Exactly.
250 commission. So we may want to expand the question beyond just the board to the 250 commissions too.
We could say, we could just simply say the workload of the Natural Resources Board and
It's
yeah, its commissions or the district commissions.
What would 2 doesn't address your concern?
Are they
No, it
considered
doesn't,
staff?
because
Are they-
that's the natural resource, yeah, I guess, are they considered staff? When I think of the Natural Resources Board, I think of the people who show up in that budget, which
Everybody.
is that
It's the
everybody?
commission- it's the
But,
commission.
Yeah, the commissions are included in the staff of the board.
Well,
I
they're
don't know.
commissions
If
are-
you'd like to be more clear, but they're part of that agency.
yeah, personally, I would, my preference would be to make it more clear. The other thing, and I'm not trying to muddy the waters or make things more complicated, but the other question is this housed in the right place to do the plan? And again, I can take a simple yes or no, just asking that question. If we're looking at what's happening with the district workloads, and we're going to the Secretary of Administration to do that look, is that the appropriate place versus someone who's more, quote, independent?
Well, this is
It would either be an A&R, which would be themselves, and so I think the agency of the administration is the right one.
Just to be clear, the Natural Resources Board, I don't think is part of A&R.
No, it's not.
It's not, it is a separate independent.
Because it's
And the way
only-
this is written is we're asking the Office of the Administration, the Secretary of Administration to review them. Should we be asking them, well, or should we ask them to review themselves? Which is the opposite direction of what Kimberly is going.
But who would you find is
I don't
more
know. And
independent?
we have to pay it.
I don't,
I think it's internal.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah, that
internal
works.
too. I agree.
And the board will work with the administration, there'll be a conversation, and then we'll pick it apart.
So the question is then, Kimberly, do you want to add in number 1 on line 10, the workload of the Natural Resources Board and
Including.
including,
yes. I would-
including the district
Yes.
commissions?
Thank you, yes.
I don't think we need to
51.
reprint this. Can we give that to the downstairs with including the district commissions without
Sure. Yeah, you
rewriting
could
them?
approve it pending the one correction.
Thank you, Kimberly, that's a good catch. Anything made up?
And does that then clarify flow through the subsequent sub-numbers? That
Doesn't change anything.
but that we want to have the double check as to whether or not those district commissions have enough help. If the only place that's listed is in number 1, whereas in number 2 is where we're talking about sufficient staff.
Well, that's where Ellen has said the staff is included in the commissions are included in the staff.
But you're right, it could be this proverbial belts and suspenders. Does it make sense, again, to say whether the Natural Resources Board, comma, including the district commissions have, or is that overkill?
Well, I don't think the district commissions, do they have staff?
Yes.
They do have staff, but they are staff of the Natural Resources Board.
Okay,
They're all in the same agency.
in the same agency,
Yeah.
Entity.
entity.
Yeah.
Okay, because when you say agency, I'm going back to A&R.
State.
Right,
Yeah.
Well, it's a state agency, so, but
A&R, but the Natural Resources Board is not part of
She's
A&R.
using agency as a small a, not a
Oh,
capital.
it's not a, okay,
As
got
an
it.
entity within state government, that we
Right, yeah,
call an
yeah,
agency.
Yeah, okay, I'm thinking when
Sorry.
you say agency, I'm going to A&R, sorry. Do we want the belts and suspenders in number 2? Whether the Natural Resources Board and the district commissions have sufficient staff? Or including so put the including in both places?
Yeah.
that
Okay.
way, those who don't know that the district commissions are in essence part of the Natural Resources Board, it makes it very clear so that
Okay.
the people working across.
Or they
boards-
can't be left out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you have to make, since it's one correction that goes in 2 places, if you have to rewrite the whole thing or not for the clerk's office.
I think you can, someone can make a motion saying that you approve the bill pending the correction.
Right.
Yes.
And then I just need to clean page 51.
For you to put in there. Peter, were you, no?
No.
Okay, so the bill, I think, now does what we want within the review section on 51. The per diems are addressed, the 2 positions are out, and we have the bill back and the fees in the review. Ellen, I know you've got a lot to do, so thank you for this work. You did this quickly. Chip, you can have this one now. Okay, so when we do a complete strike-all, which we typically don't do in this committee, a strike-all of another bill, the strike-all is we vote first on our strike-all amendment and then we vote on the bill. So there's still 2 votes.
There's still 2 votes, right? Because, it's actually an amendment.
Amending,
And then
And then we vote, it's an amendment right now, so we have to vote on it, and then we vote on the bill. We have to amend the bill first and then we vote on it.
But that means we're voting on all of the other text as
No,
well.
we're voting on just our amendment, that's all that's all that's going out.
The whole 54 pages.
Yeah, yeah, anything else that's being changed will come from the Natural Resources Committee. So first, we're going to vote on the amendment, and then we'll vote on the bill as amended by, to strike all.
Substitute the strike all.
But that is what we're doing. We are effectively voting on what is the new bill. It is the content of the whole.
Right.
We're not just laying this last bit that we just talked about over something.
Right, which was a little different than I'd hoped that we would do. I was hoping we were just going to strike. Why do we have to have all the others? Because it's all.
There's
200 references.
Okay, that's
She
fine.
can do that, but it
You
will
can
take
go
a
read
week.
it.
Right,
Yeah, you can go read it.
We don't want to make her cry.
It was why I was able to do it quickly as opposed to.
Okay, so for the committee, first we'll vote on the amendment, and the amendment really are the pieces that we have talked about, and then we'll vote on as amended, which will be the strike-all, which includes all, they both include all the pieces. Bob,
So,
Yes.
once it leaves here,
goes to the floor.
it does go to the floor for sure.
Yep. We're the last stop.
So, okay, so then it won't get that complicated and convoluted to explain as to what it is. Yeah, I got it. You've been there before, you get it done on the floor, you've got one that was amended by this one, and went to that one, and over to the other one, and you got about 3 or 4 changes there, and you don't know what you've got.
So it's no
This
longer
isn't
as
that bad.
amended,
This
it's no
isn't that
longer
bad.
as amended by Ways and Means either, is it?
Right.
No, we struck all, yeah, okay. Hey, we struck the fees. Ooh, how does that make you guys feel?
I'm not reporting.
I feel good, you are
Just
literally.
wiping your back.
Okay, so we're substituting with a strike-all.
That's better.
Okay, so, Ellen, you are free to go.
Can I stay?
Wow, that's the spirit. Nobody ever asked me that.
Have a nice time.
We have candy.
I know, can I have candy?
Yes. All the good on your audit.
I am gonna have to leave soon.
So we
This is your
have,
idea of a good time.
2 votes. So report, is it 2 votes?
Yes, it is.
2 votes.
so we are taking 2 votes. The first one is to substitute the current bill with a strike-all amendment.
No, so first, you're voting on the amendment itself. And then you're voting on substituting
Oh,
the bill in front of you with your strike-all amendment. Because
okay.
you're striking everything that's been done
Okay.
previously.
Yeah, but I don't understand.
No,
Makes
wait,
sense?
because it is a
Our
strike
amendment
all.
is a strike all, so if we
Yes.
vote on the amendment, we're voting to strike all and.
We're voting on the strike-all amendment.
Right, and then we have
And
to
then
vote
we
on
vote.
the bill.
Then you're
There's a second.
substituting your amendment for the bill.
We did substitute it as soon as, yes, and then we're going to take that and substitute it for the bill, right?
Right.
Right.
So it is
I'm
report
not
favorably on
saying it
House.
cleanly.
So
But yes,
read it, Diane.
So we report favorably on House Appropriations Committee amended strike all?
Strike all amendment, yes.
Yes. So the first one is going to vote on our amendment to be a strike all amendment. Is there a motion?
I make.
Thank you, Bob. Is there a
Make
second?
motion.
Second. Thank you, Linda. Any other questions or comments or concerns? This is to vote on our strike all amendment.
Which is your 54 pages.
Which is 54.
Includes all the text about changes to criteria and changes to lots of other things.
Yep.
So we'll do our amendment first and then we'll vote to substitute it for the bill. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Do we have to say anything specific about the technical corrections we just discussed on page 51 in the motion?
As corrected by, yeah.
Thank you.
So this first vote is, even though we're voting on the whole bill, the only reason we are here having this vote is because we needed to get rid of the per diem and the staff language, and it's not necessarily do we agree with everything, it's just to get it to a place.
A different
A different
I
state.
agree with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, okay, can you explain that to me better? Because I'm having difficulty.
Yeah,
I
I
understand
can
the
tell.
things
Yeah.
that we did. I don't like some of the things in the underlying bill.
Yeah. If I were in
What I
that
would call the
case,
underlying bill.
being on this committee, I would vote for the amendment and then vote against the underlying
Exactly.
bill.
You're voting to amend, and then,
And then you can
and
say
then there'll be
vote
the
to
bill,
undo.
and if you don't like the
And you
bill,
don't
then
like
you
the
can
bill,
vote
you can
against the
vote
bill.
against
But
And actually, Mary,
I
I
believe
would
we should
actually
amend
agree,
the
except that
bill
I
in
don't
order to
like
take
the
out all those
underlying
things.
bill, but I want to substitute.
Keep the
my
fees
bill.
back,
Or
yeah,
the
she
underlying
wanted
bill,
to-
so I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna vote yes and yes, but then on the floor, vote no.
Well, I think
For a
we're-
third, or second, third reading.
I was of the impression that,
Our amendment.
Yeah,
We
but
were
our amendment was very
comfortable.
separate. It didn't include all the base language.
yeah,
Right.
This amendment is
No, I'm comfortable
more
with that.
robust.
yeah.
And so what Peter has said is, in order for us to change the underlying bill, this is the vehicle that's been put in front of us to do it.
I mean,
Right,
the
so,
alternative was that Ellen could have pulled out
22
all of
instances of
that.
amendment.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
understand
and she would correct.
so, well, and just,
You would have never understood.
No, it
Yeah,
is
we're
Let's call the
possible.
vote, let's call the vote.
Yes.
Diane, unless there's a clarification question. Any, okay, Diane, do you,
I'm ready now.
all right, let's go.
Representative Conquest.
Yes.
Representative Fagan.
Yes.
Representative Felton.
Yes.
Representative Helm.
Yes.
Representative Hooper.
yes.
Representative Jessup.
Yes.
Representative Lasher. Yes. Representative Myers.
Yes.
Representative Townsend.
Yes.
Representative Yakuboni.
Yes.
Representative Toll.
Yes. So now I will entertain a motion to, substitute the bill with the House Appropriations strike all amendment. Now we're going to substitute the bill.
Report to.
Do I have a motion? Thank you, Maida. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Chip. Okay, now this is the actual substitution. Peter?
So I'll just say this, I'm gonna be supporting this because I wanna substitute this for the current bill. But then I will not support it for third reading, just so that everyone knows. This is a better solution, I believe, than the bill that is currently sitting there. So I'm supporting this in substituting the current bill, but just I will not support the bill on the floor for third reading.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? We've all done that on occasion where we vote to move or do something, but on the floor our vote is different.
Okay, we're gonna do that tomorrow.
Might change your mind, Mary.
Okay, any other questions or comments, concerns? Diane, do you wanna
Call
call the roll?
Representative Conquest.
Yes.
Representative Fagan.
Yes.
Representative Felton.
Yes.
Representative Helm.
Yes.
Representative Hooper.
Yes.
Representative Jessup.
Yes.
Representative Lamper. Representative Myers.
Yes.
Representative Townsend.
Yes.
Representative Yakuboni.
Yes.
Representative Toll.
Yes, and I've just had this conversation recently regarding myself. If you have moved something out of committee but you're going to be a no vote on the floor, you should probably not present the amendment. So I'm looking at, Marty, if you think you're going to be a no on the floor, I would like somebody else that's going to support it to move the amendment.
I hate to do this to you, but I will probably be a no on the floor.
Okay. And so, Chip, you've been working on the language, and
I'm sorry.
Marty knows you a drink.
Is that a yes?